Somewhere in your house right now, a closet, a basement, maybe the camper parked out back, there's a little white plastic tub with crystals on top and water in the bottom. You paid about $15 for it. And when it fills up, you'll throw the whole thing in the trash and go buy another one. I want you to hear what's actually in that tub. It's calcium chloride. That's it. A plain mineral salt. The same stuff sitting in 50-pound bags at the hardware store in the ice melt aisle and in tubs at the pool supply store where they call it calcium hardness increaser. $4 gets you more of it than that little tub holds. $10 gets you enough to dry out every damp corner of your house for a year. And here's the part nobody tells you. The part I'm going to get to before we're done today. You don't even have to keep buying the $4 bag. Those crystals can be brought back to life in your own oven and used again and again. The same handful, basically forever. The companies selling the throwaway tubs know that. It's why the tub is built the way it's built. We'll get there. First, let's talk about why you'd want this at all. Because if you've never had a damp problem, you might not know you have one. Damp is quiet. It doesn't announce itself like a leak does. It's the musty smell when you open the coat closet. It's the dresser drawer that sticks in July and slides fine in January. It's the sheets in the guest room that feel just a little cold and heavy when nobody's slept in there for a month. It's rust freckles showing up on tools that were fine last fall. That's all water. Water hanging in the air, soaking into everything porous, feeding mildew, and slowly eating your stuff. Now, calcium chloride is about the thirstiest thing you can buy for money. It doesn't just sit near water. It pulls water straight out of the air, grabs it, and holds it. And it'll keep drinking until it's soaked up several times its own weight. Up to 6 times, if the air is damp enough. A cup of dry crystals can end up as a bowl of liquid. That's not a gimmick. That's just what this mineral does. And it's exactly what's inside every one of those $15 tubs. They didn't invent anything. They put a cheap mineral in an expensive package. So here's what you buy. Go to the hardware store and look at the ice melt bags, or go to the pool store and look for calcium hardness increaser. You want the one that says calcium chloride on it, read the bag, because some ice melts are plain rock salt, and rock salt won't do this job. Plain sodium chloride just sits there. It has to say calcium chloride. And here's your first small detail that matters. Buy it in pellets or flakes, not powder. The powder looks like the better deal sometimes, but the second it touches damp air, it cakes into one solid brick, and the air can't get at the inside of a brick. Pellets and flakes leave little gaps for air to move through, so the whole batch keeps working. Pellets or flakes. Write it down. Now the setup, and this is where people overthink it. You need 2 things from your kitchen, a bowl and a colander or a strainer. Anything with holes that sits up inside the bowl. Colander in the bowl. Pour a cup or 2 of crystals into the colander. Done. That's the whole machine. Here's why it's built that way. As the crystals drink water out of the air, they slowly turn to liquid, a heavy, salty brine. If the crystals just sat in a bowl, they'd end up sitting in their own puddle, and a crystal underwater can't drink any more air. The colander lets the brine drip down into the bowl below, so the crystals up top stay high and dry and keep working. The water goes down, the crystals stay up. Same idea as the fancy tub, except the fancy tub costs $15 and mine costs nothing because the colander was already in my cabinet. One thing, use a plastic or glass bowl, not your good metal one. That brine is hard on metal. It's the same reason road salt rusts out truck beds. Plastic bowl, glass bowl, an old ice cream pail, not metal. By the way, little fixes like this one, where the store version is just a cheap thing in a fancy tub. I've got a whole book of them. Every method I use to run this house for less, all written down in one place. It's on my website, links right below the video. Go get it. I won't bring it up again. All right, where do you put these? Closets first, because that's where most people have the problem and don't know it. A closet is a dead air box. No vents, door shut, full of cloth and leather, everything mildew loves. One small bowl set up on the closet shelf, up high where nothing knocks it over. And in a week or 2, you'll open that door and the musty smell is just gone. Not covered up with a scented thing. Gone. Because the water it was living on is sitting in your bowl instead. Basements. Now, a bowl of crystals is not going to dry out a whole wet basement. I'll be honest about that in a minute. But for a basement corner, a storage room, the closet under the stairs where you keep the Christmas boxes, it works. I keep one near where I store fabric and paper, because cardboard boxes in a damp basement turn soft and sweet smelling, and then the mice notice. A bigger bowl and more crystals for a bigger space. It scales up just fine. RVs and campers, this might be the best use of all. A camper sits closed up for 8 months, breathing its own damp air, and people open them in spring to find mildew spots on the cushions and that smell that never fully leaves. The tubs they sell for RVs are the same $15, and people buy 3 or 4 of them every fall. Set your own bowls instead, one up front, one in the back, and close her up. Same for a boat cabin, a car that sits all winter, a gun safe, a toolbox. Anywhere air gets trapped, a little of this keeps it dry. Under the kitchen sink, if it smells damp down there. Inside a piano, people tell me, though I'd put a small one nearby rather than inside. You get the idea. Damp-trapped air, bowl of crystals, problem handled. Now maintenance, which there's barely any of. Every so often you'll see the bowl underneath has brine in it. Pour it down the drain with the water running plenty of water, because it's heavy, salty stuff. Don't pour it on your plants and don't pour it on the lawn. Salt and green things don't mix. If it's winter, you can pour it on the icy front step. Instead, it's ice melt, after all, doing its second job. Then top up the crystals if they're getting low, and you're done for another few weeks. A couple of honest words before we get to the good part, because I won't sell you a thing bigger than it is. This is for damp air. It is not for water. If your basement has an actual leak, if water comes in when it rains, if there's a pipe sweating or a gutter dumping against the foundation, no bowl of crystals on this earth fixes that. And neither does the $15 tub, whatever the label suggests. Water coming in has to be stopped where it comes in. This trick is for the air, for the slow, quiet damp. And for that, it works better than almost anything. Know which problem you have. And keep it away from kids and pets. It looks like rock candy and dogs will lick anything. It's not poison the way antifreeze is, but it's harsh, it'll burn a mouth, upset a stomach, and dry your own skin out something fierce if you handle it wet with bare hands. It actually gets warm when water hits it. That's how eager it is. So the closet shelf, not the closet floor. Up high, always. Same as any cleaning supply. Treat it with respect, and it's fine. That's the whole speech. Okay, now the part I promised you at the start. The part that turns this from a cheaper version of the tub into something the tub can never be. That brine in the bottom of the bowl, the spent, used-up liquid you've been pouring down the drain, you don't have to pour it out. The water it drank can be driven right back out of it. And what's left is your crystals again. The same crystals, ready to drink again. Here's how I do it. Pour the brine into a glass baking dish, glass or ceramic, not your metal pans, same rust reason as before. Into the oven, somewhere between 300 and 400 degrees, and just let it sit. Depending on how much liquid you've got, it takes 1 to 3 hours. The water steams off, the liquid thickens, and eventually it dries down into a white, crusty cake in the bottom of the dish. Crack a window or run the vent fan while it goes, because you're boiling off a lot of steam and it can spit a little near the end. And let the dish cool before you touch anything, because that cake holds heat like a brick. When it's cool, break the cake up with a spoon into chunks. They won't be the tidy pellets you started with. They'll be rough lumps. And that's fine. Lumps have gaps, and gaps are all we need. Back into the colander they go, and they start drinking again like nothing happened. Think about what that means. The tub company's whole business is you throwing it away. Buy, fill, toss, buy again, $15 a room, several times a year, forever. And the mineral inside was never used up. It was just full. Drying it out is the whole trick, and it costs you an hour of oven heat you can run alongside whatever else you're baking that day. I'll be straight with you on the fine print. It's not perfectly eternal. Each time through, you lose a little, some stays stuck to the dish, some picks up dust and lint from sitting out, and after enough rounds, a batch gets tired and doesn't drink like it used to. So maybe once a year, you toss the old batch and start fresh from the bag. Fine. That's $4 a year. Against 60 or 100 a year in throwaway tubs, I'll take that trade every time and twice in August. So let's just say the quiet part plainly, because this is where I always end up. Nobody at that company sat in a room twirling a mustache. They just built the product the way products get built now, as a subscription you don't realize you signed up for. The crystals are glued into a tub you can't refill. The label never mentions what the mineral is, never mentions that it's $4 a bag one aisle over at the hardware store, and certainly never mentions that an oven brings it back from the dead. Because a customer who knows those three things stops being a customer. The whole business stands on you not knowing what's in the tub. Well, now you know what's in the tub. Our grandmothers understood this kind of thing without needing it explained. Nothing that could be dried out got thrown away. A thing that still worked got used until it didn't. Somewhere between then and now, we got trained to buy the damp out of our closets one plastic tub at a time, and honestly, it's such a small, dumb expense that nobody ever stops to look at it. That's how the small, dumb expenses survive. Nobody looks. So here's your first step, and it's an easy one. Next trip to the hardware store, walk to the ice melt and read the bags until you find one that says calcium chloride pellets or flakes. $4 to $10 depending on the size. Tonight, colander in a plastic bowl, cup of crystals, up on the shelf of your worst-smelling closet. Give it 2 weeks. Then open that door and breathe in and tell me the difference. And tell me in the comments, where's the damp spot in your house? Is it a closet, the basement, the camper? And if your mother or grandmother had her own trick for damp charcoal in a coffee can, chalk in the toolbox, whatever it was, put it down there. Because I read every one of those, and half of what I know came from comment sections and church basements. Next time, I'm taking on the closet fresheners and the plug-in scent things, because it's the same story wearing a different label, a few pennies of ingredients, a monthly bill dressed up as convenience, and a version you can make on your own counter for next to nothing. You'll want to see the numbers on that one. Until then, it's not complicated. You already own most of what you need, and don't let anybody sell you your own dry air. I'll see you in the next one.